Hey guys, EQA Nostalgia here with some very exciting news for survival horror fans. If you remember back a few days ago, my latest video was about survival horror. I asked what had happened to the genre. And lo and behold, today I found out that there is actually a game on Kickstarter. It's titled Infected, Classic Survival Horror. Now, this is exactly what I was talking about in my video. Kickstarter and indie games being the real salvation for true survival horror games. As you can see, the project has 33 days to go. They have a pledged goal of $35,000 and they've already got $836. Now, as far as pledged goals go, that's actually a very modest amount. I've seen very high pledge goals of $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 on Kickstarter before. So I think this is a very realistic and very modest goal, and I think they're going to reach that goal as long as people get the word out about this game. Now, I just want to take a few minutes to discuss the game and let people know what some of the features are going to be. First of all, this is a fixed camera angle type game, and by that I mean it's like the classic Resident Evil and Silent Hill games, so that right there had me interested. It's going to take place in a mansion, which is also very classic Resident Evil style stuff. And from what I've read, it seems like a spiritual successor to the early Resident Evil games more than anything else. The game is going to have an offline and co-op mode, an online co-op mode, much like Resident Evil Outbreak. It looks a lot like that to me. As you can see in this screenshot, it appears that he is shouldering someone and helping them to walk properly. You can see in the little subtitles down there. So for those of you out there who are clamoring for a Resident Evil Outbreak 1 and 2 HD remake, this is probably as good as it's going to get for you guys. I know a lot of people want Outbreak File number 3, but I just don't think that that's realistic. I've been on those sites, I've signed petitions, and you know, I gotta be real, I don't see that happening. So I think this is the best chance for Outbreak fans to actually get something like those games. Now, from what I've read on the Kickstarter page, they already have the basic model down. They just want to be able to add extra things to it. That's why they want to get funding going. And you can tell by these screenshots, they must have something already done or they wouldn't be able to post these. Now, another thing that's interesting is there's going to be a virus meter. There again, it harkens back to the Resident Evil Outbreak games. When players start the game, you're going to be infected right away. So you're trying to get an antivirus or you're trying to trade the antivirus to get an evac out of the city. Now, I don't know in terms of enemies if they're going to have anything but zombies, but I do know that zombies are confirmed, and that's going to be the primary enemy. Now, there's also going to be 4 characters to choose from in the game. They're probably going to add more as they go along. But from what I read, you're actually going to be able to create your own character. What I read on their page is that you're going to actually be able to insert your own voice for your character and just build them the way you want. Now, it says backer created characters, so I'm not certain if you have to actually be a backer of the project in order to create a character or what it's going to be the deal with that. I'm not entirely certain because I wanted to get this video out there as quick as possible, so I didn't really go through and read everything. So it goes without saying that I definitely plan on revisiting this subject a few times. Now, each of these characters that you can select from have their own special abilities, and that's another thing that harkens back to the Resident Evil Outbreak games. And apparently the character that you create, you'll be able to make your own special, unique abilities for that character. Now, another feature that I want to point out to you guys is that each area, each scenario that you start in is going to have a central hub. And that's never going to change, and everybody's pretty much going to start there. But once you leave that area, it's going to be completely randomly generated. So everything in this game is going to be randomly generated. So none of the levels are going to be exactly alike. Everybody's going to have a different experience. I'm sure a lot of you remember how Resident Evil had arrange mode. I guess it's going to be something like that. I'm not entirely certain on all the details. But it just helps to keep things fresh so that if you're playing multiple online sessions with people and you want to go through the game, you're not going through the same exact stuff. You know, it might be the same rooms, but they're rearranged. So when you're running around and grabbing keys and things, you're not going to know exactly where to go. Another feature that I think is worthy of pointing out is that if you are infected really bad, like let's say you get up to like 99% infection and you know you're losing control of your character and you're going to turn into a zombie, you can actually commit suicide. And that's just really badass. I don't think I've ever heard of a game doing anything like that. I mean, there might be something out there, but I never heard of it. You know, instead of turning into a zombie, you can just opt out. As long as you got 1 bullet, you can kill yourself. Now, of course, you don't have to do that, and it could actually be pretty funny to watch what happens when you turn into a zombie and start attacking your friends. I've also read that there's going to be things that help to slow down the virus, and there might actually be like a moral conflict where you have to get your hands on something that'll slow down your virus, but you might have to kill somebody else. Maybe it's an NPC or something, but I just know there's going to be consequences to keeping yourself alive. Now, I'm actually reading it right now as I'm doing the commentary here, so there are a couple of things that I didn't mention, and the mansion apparently isn't going to be the only place. The deserted mansion is going to be one scenario. Then they're going to have the isolated forest for another scenario and the abandoned city for another scenario. And I'm sure as time goes along, they might add like DLC or things like that to increase, the different maps and maybe add new characters. But that all depends on the success of the game and if it does indeed get funded. Some of these games do get funded even if they don't meet their goal. They find a way to get funded in other ways, but this is a great opportunity for people who want a classic survival horror experience. Now, I've also read that there's going to be side quests and things that you can interact with other NPCs. Maybe they'll have you go get something that they need, and you can complete that to get different things. Maybe they'll give you like weapons or ammo or something along those lines. Now, as I'm reading further along, I'm seeing there are going to be different types of zombies. You're going to have your classic zombie, that's slow, shambling zombies that will try to engage you head on. Poor vision, hearing, and smell, and only interested in biting you. And there's also going to be enraged zombies, humans that are near their final stages of the infection. They're focused on attacking anything in their sights and more focused on killing than infecting. And they also want to put in a stalker type zombie, but that's like a stretch goal, so that's something that isn't put into the game right away. It's going to be a humanoid-like monster that appears at random that attacks anything in its way. It is designed to chase and hunt you down. You can temporarily stun it to get away or hide and hope for the best. It may sometimes drop something useful. So that sounds kind of like a nemesis type thing, or it's going to be chasing you around, maybe going through doors when you try to get away from it. And when you kill it, you might actually get something cool like a weapon or some ammo or something like that. Also, they have a work in progress creatures thing going on right now where there's going to be creatures that they're working out. We don't know what they're going to be yet, but I'm sure they'll let us know as the game comes along. And there's also going to be backer created ones. Again, I'm not sure about the details, how much you have to pledge in order to actually create one, but I think it's really cool that they let the community get involved. And that's what Kickstarters are all about, really. The community gets to get involved and actually help create the game. Now, the last thing I actually want to mention is there's going to be a stealth element in the game where characters are going to be able to enter like a stealth mode and sneak around enemies and stuff like that. So it's looking very promising. I'm very excited, and I really want to see this get funded, but the only way that's going to happen is through you guys. So, go to the Kickstarter page, and if you can't pledge any money, at least try to help spread the word. Tell your friends about it, post on forums, and try to spread awareness about the game. I am definitely going to be throwing down money on this game. I can't wait to see how it develops, and apparently within a week or so we are getting an update to see how things are coming along. There might be like a video or something showing some in-game footage. And if you go to the site right now, the Kickstarter site, I'm going to put it down in the description, you'll actually be able to see more, you know what I mean? I'm just naming off a few things that I've read. There's actually a couple of videos where they talk and they show you the random generized maps and stuff like that. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and long live classic survival horror.